Hello, my name is Henriette and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'd love to have you here. In this video, I'm going to start off by decorating my porch for Valentine's Day. And the best place to start, I think, is always with a wreath. I have bought some gypsophilia or some baby's breath, which I'm spray painting bright red. I bought 7 little bunches and they're very cheap in the UK, which is why I'm using them. This gorgeous heart-shaped wreath came from HomeSense and it was only $11. And all I'm going to do here is literally stick a load of little bunches of gypsophilia into the wreath. I really want my porch to look very whimsical, so this really works for that kind of thing. And you'll see the finished wreath a little bit later on in the video. But first, let's get started on decorating the actual porch. And I've recently had a complete fascination with Willow whips, so I'm going to be using those to start with. I had this idea that I could create like a lattice kind of pattern going up on either side of our porch. It turned out that it required 2 pairs of hands, so that mic of mine has come out to help. I'm using some natural jute twine to tie all my whips together. Please excuse our outfits, but London at the moment is freezing cold and we are both layered up to the hilt. We kept going until our whips met at the very top of the porch. And that was as far as we got on the first day because we were so cold. The next day I decided that I wanted to add some twisted willow to add a bit more whimsy to the whole thing. If you too are also interested in willow, I will of course leave a link below in the description box for everything that I'm using here. I wanted our porch to be really colourful, so I've made up some hearts in different sizes on my laser cutter and then painted them. And if you want to see how I made those, I'll be sure to link my previous video in the description box below. I didn't just make hearts, I also made some cupids too, and I think they're so cute. My colour scheme is basically natural, bright red, white and a baby pink. My mic came back out to help with the top bit because it required the big ladder and I don't like the big ladder. My Valentine's Day porch is beginning to take shape, but I did want to add a few bits to the inner bit of the porch too. So I brought out a basket that I already had and also this willow tree. For those of you who have been with me for a long time will probably recognise this tree because I used it in either my first or second video. But that's fine with me, I'm all for reusing. I'm going to just fill this basket up with some packaging and then some burlap just to make it look tidy. Now Mike has very kindly been gifting me with little Valentine's teddy bears over the years and I never really know what to do with them, but this year I thought I'd try to have a teddy bear tree, but you'll have to let me know what you think about that. I did end up swapping everything around a few times before I was happy, but I got there in the end. Now the other thing I wanted to add to this little tree of mine is some leftover hearts that I had. I'm just using red, pink and white ribbon to attach my hearts to the tree. I didn't want to waste the willow that I had left over, so I decided to use it on the other side of the porch, and I'm simply bunching it up tying a bow around it and then placing it in my porch. I had one red heart left, so I thought it might look nice at the front of this willow. If you are enjoying this video so far, please like, comment and subscribe. It means the world to me, and of course it helps my channel too. Also, if your time allows you, I would love to hear from you. I've had so many lovely conversations with so many of you, and I'm so very grateful. Finally, it was time to bring my wreath out. I am so chuffed with how this turned out. It's so simple, but somehow it is whimsical and it really works. Now, just before I show you the finished porch, I wanted to give a huge thank you to Teddy Blake for sponsoring this video. Before I say anything else about this bag, I wanted to tell you that Teddy Blake has currently got a massive sale on. At the moment you can get up to 35% off your Teddy Blake bag, and I'll be sure to leave my link below in the description box. This is the GG Suede Gold in the 13-inch, and it's also available in lots of other colours. Now, I've had this bag for quite a few months, so I wanted to show you how well it's held up. And although the leather is now a bit softer, it still looks brand new, and I've been using it a lot. I absolutely love this bag because I can dress it up or I can dress it down. But why not visit Teddy Blake so that you're aware of any upcoming deals, and also you'll find loads of style inspiration. Teddy Blake definitely represents luxury at affordable prices. As promised, here comes the finished porch, and I am so pleased. It's definitely everything I wanted it to be. It's whimsical and it's colourful. I don't own very many Valentine's Day items, so I set about making some myself, and this time I'm going to be using some air dry clay. Now, I tend to use this because I find it's the best one, and I always warm the clay up a little bit before I roll it out. I also like to work on a tile because it just means that the clay is completely flat and it doesn't stick. I'm planning on making 2 little dishes to use in my living room. However, that goes a little bit wrong, and you'll see later on what happens. I'm just smoothing out my edges here, and I'm also adding a bit of water to the top because I have this idea that I want to transfer some hearts that I printed on my printer. I left the printed hearts on for a couple of minutes and I was really pleased with the result. But as you'll see in a minute, they somehow vanished overnight. And if you know why, I'd love to know. Whilst I had the clay out, I also thought it would be nice to make some little hearts that I can hang from some branches in my living room. And I'm just using some cookie cutters. I happen to have 3 different sizes of hearts, so I think they'll look quite pretty. Once I had removed all the excess clay, I just used the barbecue bamboo stick to make some holes because I am going to hang them. And to make sure that the edges are smooth, I just use a little brush in some water and go around the edges. It's a couple of days later and everything is dry, so I'm just giving it a quick sand down. And here comes my white little dishes. The hearts have definitely disappeared. Anyway, I'm going to paint all the bits that I've made, So I'm painting the hearts in red and also that baby pink and leaving some of them white. And my little dishes ended up being pink. You win some and you lose some, but this is homemade. Happy that I have a few more items to use in my living room, I got started. And I'm not going to go too mad because I really like my winter decor, and I'm going to put it back after Valentine's Day is over. I realised that I had a bit of red string in one of my drawers, and I think it really works with these cute little hearts. It just sets them off. I think aroma is so important, so I'm adding a couple of Valentine's candles to my fireplace here, and they came from Home Sense. This time of year, Mike and I often sit in the living room of an evening, and having candles just makes it so much more cozy. Again, when it comes to our sofas, I'm not going to change very much. I'm just going to swap over these nice green cushions for some Valentine's ones. A bit more swapping around is happening on our coffee table too. And I'm just getting rid of some of the browns and the greens and bringing in some whites, some reds and some pinks. These gorgeous red leather-bound books were actually a present from a friend of ours, and I think they're so lovely, and I like that I'll be able to use them in this decor. Now, I don't think you can decorate for Valentine's Day without a few roses, so I'm bringing in these red ones. They are faux or fake, and I'm going to have 5 of them in this vase. That's all there's room for. And here comes another pink candle. I mean, I don't know if there's such a thing as too many candles. Well, certainly not in my home. I also decided to keep this little dish on the table, but instead of the candle, I'm going to dress it a bit more for Valentine's Day. And I had a few more hearts left over from my previous video. And I am pleased with these little dishes that I made, although I would have liked some hearts, but chocolate it is instead. It was at this point that I decided that the fireplace needed a little bit more, so I set about making a garland. Using a heart shape that I got from Pinterest, there are loads of free printables on Pinterest, I cut out a load of felt hearts. I also cut out some heart-shaped wadding which I'm going to put in between my felt pieces. I sew around roughly half of the heart before I put in my wadding because it's easier that way. And the stitch I'm using here is a blanket stitch. You can use whatever stitch you like, but I think a blanket stitch is a really nice stitch for this kind of thing. So I'll quickly show you how to do one. You literally go through the 2 layers, pull your string through, but not all the way. Just before you get to the end, put the needle through the hoop, and that way you end up with a blanket stitch. I ended up making 12 of these little hearts for my garland in the 3 different colours that I'm using this Valentine's. I have always got some jute twine in the house, so I'm going to use it to assemble my garland. To make it all a bit easier, I'm adding some sellotape to the end of my twine as a sort of needle. And then it was just a case of threading everything on. And I've also added some wooden beads because I had them in the house, and of course it will make my garland longer. To make this garland look extra special, I decided to add some tassels on either end. You've probably seen how tassels are made a million times, but here's a quick run through. So I'm just using some cardboard because it will ensure that both my tassels are the same size, I wrap around and around and around and then tie a loose knot with the extra bit of string at the top. I can then remove my tassel from the cardboard, and now I set about putting a bit of extra string to create a sort of belly around the top end of my tassel. Tie it off with a knot, and then I can finally cut at the bottom of my tassel to make it really frilly. I always trim the bottom to make sure that all the pieces of twine are the same length, because that makes for a really tidy looking tassel. And that is really all there is to it. I'm now going to attach it to the end of my garland, so I'm undoing the knot that I did before, adding a bit of sellotape so that I can thread it through the last bead of my garland. I personally believe it's so satisfying making something yourself, and of course when you do it yourself you end up treasuring these things far more because you put a lot of time and effort into them. I'm pretty sure that this garland will come out for many Valentine's Days in the future. And then it was back to finish our living room, and this garland absolutely was a game changer. It just brought the fireplace to life, and I'm so glad that I took the time to make it. I also wanted our little reading corner to have a touch of Valentines, so I'm just adding a few bits here to make it fit in with the rest of the room. I had some baby pink carnations, and although they are probably more suited for Mother's Day, I thought they would work for this kind of theme. I also added the eucalyptus back in again to make it look a bit more full and finished. I'm just going to add a couple more bits and pieces, and I tend to do things in threes because that is far more pleasing for the eye, which is why I brought this candle in. I had a few more hearts left over, so I thought I'd add them too. Now these are hearts that I made in my previous video, and they're also available in our Etsy shop in case you're interested. And I think that just about wraps up my living room, so here it comes, all finished. Before I go, I wanted to show you a super easy dessert recipe for two for Valentine's Day. I'm making champagne and raspberry possets, and this is a recipe by BBC Good Food, and I'll be sure to leave a link below in the description box. I think it's so nice making something a little bit special for Valentine's Day. And this dessert is super yummy and not too heavy. I'm using my NutriBullet to make a puree out of the raspberries and champagne. However, you can use a mini food processor or a blender. Once I have my puree, I push it through a sieve to get rid of any seeds. Then in a pan, I mix some double cream with some golden caster sugar. I make sure that I boil these vigorously for 2.5 minutes, stirring all the time. Once the cream and sugar has cooled down a little bit, I mix my two things together and it becomes this beautiful baby pink colour. I'm going to be serving my dessert in these little ramekins, but I also reckon it would look really nice in glasses. Now I'm just going to put them in the fridge for half an hour to help them set and to cool a bit further. I then add some freeze-dried raspberry, pop them back in the fridge for another couple of hours, and then I can serve them. That's all from me today. I hope you found a little bit of inspiration for Valentine's Day. Have a wonderful week ahead. Much love from London.